So for this next section, what we're going to do is start to UV map our object. UV mapping is the process of applying your texture to geometry. So to start off, what we're going to do is just turn off all of our deformers here. We will go to the UV Edit tab, select our can. Now you can see on the left is the map of the can. So usually it's a bit messed up, but this one seems to be okay. The first thing we're going to do is start to select our loops, so the edges. So hit UL and you can start to select a loop and go one by one, or you can hit UY, which is grow selection, U and Y. Grow selection, and there's a couple we missed here. Oops. There we go. So now we've got the section where our artwork is going to be is now selected. The only thing we need to do is store our selection. So one trick you can use here to get the tools that you can't find is hit Shift C and search for them if you know the name of it. And the name of our tool is Store Selection. So Store Selection, there it is. What that's going to do is create a new selection here, which you can name, and you can call it Can Artwork, because that's where the artwork will go. Hit Enter. Now when you deselect it, you can always go back to that specific selection of where the artwork is. So what you want to do here in the tools is hit Sphere. Now what that's going to do is just organize the geometry into the correct map that it should be. Now I'm not too worried about the rest of the geometry here because that's going to be just aluminium color. But if you want to select it and organize it a little bit more, you can hit UI, which is invert selection. And then the next thing you can do is select box, which is going to organize all the pieces. Or if you want it just to be flat, flat should be just fine because it's everywhere else except for where that is. Alright, now that we've got that set up, the first thing we're going to do is keep our polygons selected. If they've been deselected, just double click that. And then we're going to go into the left section of our UV editor, hit File, New Texture, and we're going to save a new texture. I'll just call this Can Artwork Outline. Alright, so you see it's almost always square. It needs to be square in order to be processed faster. So your artwork's always going to be square, but you can line it up within this square to something more manageable. Now that I've hit save, it's created this strange white color just to show that there is actually a texture on top of your geometry. What we're going to do is only export this rectangle here. So we're going to go to Layer and hit Fill Polygons. What that does is it creates a white layer just over the part that we need. You can see right now it's as if we had a white can artwork. All right, perfect. What we want to do now is just save this texture. So save texture. We'll save it as, doesn't really matter, but we'll save it as a PNG. It's a lighter format. And I'll save it into my image folder. And we will call it the Can Artwork Outline. Done. So the next thing we need to do is put our artwork on our can. Now it might sound a little bit complicated, but it's a lot easier than you think. Once we've created our artwork based on the UV map, which we exported in the last section of the video, the next thing we need to do is create a material. For this, I'm going to be using Redshift. So the base of this is to create materials, either standard or material there. Once you click that, it's going to create a material network that looks like this. It's going to pop up here in your material manager. Now, if you can't find it, you just push this little button here and it's going to pop out. When you create your material, it's going to show you two nodes. The left one is your standard material. This is where you tweak all of your settings. And the right one is the output, which just places it on top of your artwork. So this is just the base default setup here. Now what I'm going to do is hit Shift C. It's a nice little shortcut which brings up all of the nodes that you can look for. We're going to type in texture and we're going to select this one. Now to search for this texture, what I'm going to do is click the folder icon here, which will take me to the folder browser. And what we're going to do here, go to the free masterclass, assets, in our images folder. I've created two different kinds of artworks here. Let's start off with this colorful one here, just a made up beer brand. It's going to ask you if you want to copy it to the file project location. When you do that, it just creates a folder that says TEX, which is the texture folder, and it's going to drop it in your 3D folder structure. But what I'm going to do here is just click no. That means that the file name here is going to stay, it's going to stay in the same place where I saved my original images, just so it doesn't make duplicates. All right, now you click this little dot here right into the blue section, and it's going to give you options of what you want to connect it to, and we want to connect it to the base color. All right, now that's done. The next thing we need to do is drop it on the artwork. I've previously dropped it on the artwork, but the idea behind that is you go in here and you grab your icon and you drop it on the can. So I'll delete what I've got here already. So we've got the can here. I've dropped it on the can. Right now it's coloring the whole thing. That's not what we want to do. So we click this little triangle, which is what we created before, and we named that can artwork. So go back to your material, and here it says selection. So we're going to drop this triangle into the selection section, and there you go. Right now it's only showing the part which we've selected, and everything else is gray. This part here and this part here, this is the can aluminium. So I've created an aluminium texture using the same process. So Redshift create materials, and when I've gone into the material, there's just an easy drop down menu for basic users, and I just selected aluminium there, and it's created this aluminium material, which I have gone and dropped on top of each one of these sections. So you see, if I drop it on the can and it's the end icon here, the end material, it's going to cover the whole thing. So you want to drag this can artwork material just over the top. So it's the last one there. So it's reading the wraparound, and before that it's aluminium. I've also dropped the aluminium on this little cylinder piece here, and of course the lid. And there we go. There's your can mapped and ready to go.